I'm Mark Fernandez, and this is Franchising with Fernandez. Hi, our special guest today is Leigh Wallis, Managing Director and Franchisor of Smith & Sons Renovations, based in sunny Queensland. Welcome, Leigh.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Oh, wonderful today. Now, Leigh, firstly, can you tell us where exactly are you in Queensland? Where are you located?
Well, I'm in Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast. So it's a beautiful part of the world, and I can't complain about going to work there every day, that's for sure.
There you go. And your franchise system, can you tell us how many franchisees? And I believe you're in a couple of different countries now. Is that right?
Correct, Mark. Correct. We've now got 86. We call them franchise partners. We changed that a couple of years ago because we used to say franchisees, but we know we're a real business partner to our guys, so we call them franchise partners now, like a lot of systems. So we've currently got 86, and we're in Australia, we're in New Zealand, and we've launched into Canada, where we've got 4 sub-franchisees there at the moment. So in Australia, we're in Queensland, in New South Wales, Victoria, and we have a chap over in WA as well. So only South Australia and Northern Territory to go, and we're covering Australia as well, which is nice.
Wonderful. And we're here today to talk a little bit about the crazy times in the last few weeks with the coronavirus. So can you walk us through what you and your teams have been through in the last few weeks?
Yeah, sure can, Mark. I guess leading up to this, I'd just like to put my thoughts in order around what we've been doing. And I guess there's my 3 R's that I've found that we're trying to implement. Look, we're not perfect like any franchisor. We do our best in the given circumstances. So I guess the first thing, what we're trying to do is, number one, is be real with our franchise partners. And being real is, not saying that we know exactly what's going to happen, because in situations like this, no one does. So we're being real in saying, guys, we just have to look at this as, as the health department are looking at, governments are looking at it, and we've got to do the best that we can with the information we've given at the time, and just be real and say, this is what we think what's going to happen, and not pretend to know everything like a lot of people on Facebook. So I guess that's number one, is being real with the guys, but also trying to offer some real solutions.
Great. Keep going. The
second thing the R of using is resource. And what I mean around that is obviously, these are times when businesses are changing and businesses are rapidly evolving. And I guess in the building game that we're in, a lot of things don't change in a hurry. We're still using, they still construct houses like they did almost 20 years ago. So not a lot of things change. So when I talk about resource, I'm talking about how do we resource ourselves to do business different? For example, one of the things we've started to do online consultations with our clients. And for example, that started in New Zealand, where we've already starting to get contracts out of a virtual consultation with people. We've just got to start to change how we reach our customer base. So, we've got to resource our franchisees with new ways to do business. We've got to resource our franchisees with knowledge. For example, I was talking about being real before. We've got to resource our guys. We're quite heavily involved with the HIA and MBA, and the resource that they've given us around the whole COVID-19 thing is really invaluable. And again, resourcing our franchisees with what they need to see this time out. And I guess the last thing the last R I've got, Mark, is relationships. Again, in these very, very stressful times, I think the strength of a franchise system is, especially in our game, where builders, generally a builder is on his own. And if you're a builder right now on your own, trying to go through this whole mess of COVID-19, it's really, really confusing. And, the banks are saying this and the government saying this, and to try and get that all together and get the right information is really tough. And I guess we're talking on Zoom right now, Mark, and we've really heavily started to utilize Zoom communications. I was just talking to our New Zealand team just this week. Again, the strength of a franchise brand where you can have 10 or 20 franchisees all on a call together, just sharing ideas. And again, hey, we're being real. We're not saying we know exactly when this is going to end, but there's still a real strong element of support, Mark, even through Zoom, that, hey, we're being real, but we're really bonding relationships. And to me, like I say, we've got a master franchise model, but I really feel that this is probably causing our group to actually get stronger together, because we're all going through something together. And as we, meet up each other and as we form these relationships, it's key to any business, not just franchising, but I really feel like it's getting stronger. So, I guess to me, being real with our team about where everything's at, giving them the resource that they can use to get through this, and again, building those relationships. Look, I think we're really going to get through it. That's for sure.
Yeah, great. I love it. I love the 3Rs. Fantastic. And can we just talk a little bit about the support that you are offering your masters and your franchisees? What are the initiatives that you've done to help them through, I guess, financially and from a business support?
I guess one of the big things as a franchise brand, I remember, Mark, back in sort of late 08 and 09 when we went through the GFC, we still managed to grow. We still put builders into our network, which was awesome. And a lot of our strength was in our marketing. So I guess during this whole time with COVID-19, a lot of people are getting scared and they're pulling back marketing. But I realised that, the strength of our group, a lot of it is around, number one, marketing. So we have been trying to put together new initiatives with marketing. We're talking about, online consultations. We're talking about upgrading websites. We're talking about, getting a lot of content online. So I guess one of the big areas of support has been through marketing to our guys, and how to, look, we've got to be sensitive, Mark. Obviously, we're not out there. We need to make sure we're working within the guidelines, to keep everybody safe, our franchisees, their employees, families that we're working for. Safety is our number one priority. But again, people are still wanting to get on with their lives. They want to renovate, they want to build, because a lot of them have been stuck in the house for a month or 6 weeks and are starting to see things they'd like to change. So we're sensitive around those issues, but, life still needs to go on. And if you're anything like my family at home here, we're starting to go a bit batty. So there's still plenty of opportunities. So I guess the first thing, we're resourcing our guys with marketing support. And I guess the other big one, like I was talking about before, is just that support as a group. So you know what it's like, if you don't talk about anything, you get bound up inside, and these molehills become mountains in your mind because there's no one to talk to. And just with our support network is the other massive thing. Just to be able to talk to the guys, hear them out, let them talk. It's really, really powerful what that can do for a franchisee. So I guess that's our main ones, Mark, would be really how do we capture this moment marketing wise, with the sensitivities that are around it, and get to our customer base. And number two, how do we support our guys? I mean, not just on a financial level, which we certainly do, but on an emotional level, which runs a lot deeper than finance in my mind.
Yeah, well, mental health is something that will come through as something, that we need to really focus on in these periods of isolation. And, with the schooling being, online now, families have to adapt at home, and different nuances, and actually spending time with families. So
yes, exactly.
It's certainly challenging, and our business models have changed. All right, Leigh, let's talk about you personally now. Can you tell us some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face with your family in the last few weeks, if you can?
I guess, see, my wife's starting study. My kids have been, they finished up at school a couple of weeks before they had to, just due to, because my little girl has asthma. So we just want to make sure she was safe. So look, For me, look, I really don't mind working from home. I mean, I'm a bit of an introvert, so I'm quite happy looking out my window at the big gum trees and working away. So if there's any challenges, to be honest, it's probably the internet when I'm on Zoom and the wife's on Zoom and the kids are on their computers. So I guess the only thing, Mark, from the biggest thing at a personal level is not seeing my co-worker at work. We've got a fantastic operations manager who started with us in October last year. Glenn Adams, his name. And, I missed, again, technology is great, but I missed the face-to-face and just us having conversations, writing things down on the whiteboard, planning things out, putting projects up. I missed that personal touch, I guess. So that's probably the biggest challenge is sitting at home, and a couple of days I've gone, that's it, I'm going into the office. So that's the biggest thing, I think, is just the interaction with Glenn at work and with the other chaps that are in the office as well. I think that's probably the biggest challenge, is keeping that motivation and that mindset that, yes, we're still working, because as you know, when you're at home and the kids ask you questions and the wife wants to ask you something, you can slip out almost of that mode that you need to be in.
Oh, there you go. And Leigh, you've hit the nail on the head and hit the key word, whiteboard. Anyone who knows me knows that I love a whiteboard and I love to draw and I love to say, hang on, I don't get it. Give me the red color and the blue. So, very much visual, but trying to break it down so that we can all understand and be on the same page. So I get it. I fully understand where you're coming from. All right, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about the next 6 or 9 months. Where do you see your business and, this whole thing of franchising and the industry and the impact? Can you give us a little bit of an insight as what your crystal ball may say?
Well, look, I think one thing that's going to come out of this, like I was saying before, before the February this year, our inquiry was going through the roof. Like, we were really generating a lot of leads. And we've taken a bit of hit in leads, as many people have. But this year for us really was going to be a strong year of growth in the network. And look, when I talk to our franchise partners about growth, it's always a two-pronged approach. Since I've taken on the company, my three buzzwords have been growth, support, and sustainability. And growth is obviously growth in the network. Support is supporting the current guys in the network, and sustainability is about making sure that Smith and Sons is around long after I'm gone. So to me, this was going to be a year of really great growth for us. And so look, I think COVID-19, how it's almost been a bit of an interruption, but as long as it looks like in New Zealand, where a lot of our guys are, hopefully they'll be able to get back onto the tools in the next couple of weeks. But I mean, apart from that, I think it's going to bond us closest together as a group. I think it's going to force us to look out of the box, and not just about comms and how we deal with clients, but there's probably going to be other things that this has really shook all our minds and how we should do business. So look, I look in the next 12 months, Mark, and I think we'll be a larger group in size, definitely. I think we'll be a closer group. Look, I think our culture is going to improve as well, as we've all had to work together. Obviously, for the renovation industry, look, for every industry, in 4 or 6 or 8 weeks, when this whole thing ends, I think people are going to come out of their shells pretty quick. So I think we'll finish strong with retail inquiry and actually home renovations done as well. And again, the important thing is for me is our culture. As long as if we can hold our culture and grow our numbers through this, I can only see good things for us in 2, 6, 12 months time.
Oh, that's fantastic, Leigh, and I wish you all the best for it. Now, Leigh, there's lots of franchisees and franchise systems struggling out there. So, if you had a couple of things to say to the franchising community in Australia and franchisees, what words of wisdom or what can you pass on?
Look, I think it's all about for me, one of my personal missions is to really be fair with everybody and really create that win-win environment, because that's what franchising is, where the franchisee wins. In our case, the master franchisee wins, and also a corporate, we all have a win together. So, but for that to happen, there just has to be a massive degree of transparency and openness in what's actually happening. Like if you've got a franchisee who's struggling, you just got to be transparent, and they've got to be transparent with you as well, and get to the truth of why something's happening and just work together to fix it. And, the franchisee has to understand that, we're there to coach them and help them, but we can only do that if they're transparent. So, I guess it's a call for franchisees to, always, if something's not working, put your hand up and talk. Don't wait. The biggest tragedy, Mark, is when franchisees just wait till it's too late. And that's the worst thing for, for franchisors and master franchisors, is that when they see that, if it had been earlier, we could have helped. So I guess the call is, for franchisees to be transparent, be honest and open with us. And for franchisors, just make sure, have your finger on the pulse and know what's going on. Like, there's a lot of talk about strategy and all this kind of stuff, which is perfect and fantastic. And, maybe you as the CEO or whatever you call yourself, that's your role, but you need to have somebody in the business. And I love Gary Vaynerchuk. He's got a chief heart officer, he calls it. You've got to have somebody in your corporate team that's got their finger on the pulse, not just financially, but emotionally, what's happening with your franchisees. Because again, the head, that's where the game's won or lost.
Wonderful. Well, there you have it. Leigh Wallis, Managing Director and Franchisor of Smith Sons Renovations. Leigh, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And from me to you and your family, I wish you all the success and to stay healthy and happy. And hopefully we can check in with you maybe later in the year or early next year to see how you're traveling.
Sounds great, Mark. And don't eat too many chocolates over Easter either.
Oh, I can't make that promise, but I'll try. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
And bye for now. If you have any positive franchising stories out there, I'd love to hear them. Drop me an email at mark@bda-online.com.au. I'm Mark Fernandez, and this is Franchising with Fernandez.